Ever since convicted felon Donald Trump was re-elected to office earlier this month, there has been a red wave of hate across the country. But there are over 1,200 small victories to celebrate on a local level. And most shocking of all, Donald Trump did something good for Democrats after he won. Check out ProfessorPride.com for hundreds of ways to show off your pride, like our new 2025 LGBTQ calendar and more. On November 5th, Donald Trump got 75.5 million votes and won 312 electoral votes out of the needed 270 to win. But before we get too far into the story, I want to assure you that there are some amazing things happening, which we're going to highlight later in this episode. Plus, I have to admit that Donald Trump did something good, so please don't get despaired by the beginning stories here. And for the Trump supporters watching, I want to be clear right up front. It's not that Donald Trump was more popular. There's about 335 million people in the United States, 78% of which are over the age of 18 years old. That means there's about 261.3 million adults who can vote, but only 75.5 million voted for Trump. That's only 28.9%, and yet he won because Democrats didn't show up like they did for Obama, Hillary, and Biden. For some reason, for a lot of Democrats, choosing between a woman and a literal Nazi who admitted to saying the same things as Hitler, just in a different way, it was a difficult choice to make. Since the election, his victory emboldened hate groups and Republicans alike. Immediately after his victory was announced, Republicans flooded our comment section, admitting they knew Project 2025 was Donald Trump's plan all along, and admitted that they'd look forward to it being implemented. Even Rolling Stone did an article over this immediate reaction. Neo-Nazi and Holocaust denier Nick Fontes went on his show even before the election results were published, saying this.
Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. It's your body, my choice. And men, women again. Men win again. There will never, ever be a female president. Never. There will never be a female president, ever. We will keep you down forever. You will never control your own bodies. You will never be the president of the global empire. Never gonna happen, sweetie. Your body, our choice.
Now, having heard that, you might feel better knowing his address has been doxed online, and as a response, Google has blurred his house on Google Maps, which is basically Google's way of saying, sure, we'll help you, Mr. Neo-Nazi, but in doing so, it's just confirming which house is yours. That phrase, your body, my choice, and others like it, including Get Back in the Kitchen and 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, went trending with a 4,600% increase of mentions on Twitter, 52,000 posts on Facebook, and into thousands of schools across the country. Young boys in elementary schools are wearing Trump outfits to school now, repeating the phrase to young girls. Black children in at least 32 states have received targeted text messages using their real names, saying very racist instructions to go pick cotton. Teachers across the country have started to notice students making fun of trans kids with the pronouns we won, and students in universities across the country have seen major protests this week with banners reading "Homo sex is sin and women are property." And for 1 second, if I can just address those students directly, you could have just wrote that message with a marker on a piece of cardboard, but you chose to spend $100 making the sign professionally because presumably you're planning on using it for years to come. That means it's just going to sit in a corner somewhere until then, and I can't wait for you to bring a girl back to your apartment. You'd be all hot and heavy, but then she sees the women are property sign in the corner and sprays you with her mace before she runs away. Or she sees the banner for homo sex and asks you why you think about gay sex so much that you have a poster for it, then she sprays you with her mace and runs away too. Then, years later, you come out of the closet because most homophobic men are secretly gay, in which case let me be the first in the community to offer you a warm off. With all of the hate, I know things look bad. You might have seen ads on TV, social media, or even billboards around town attacking LGBTQ people and thought, this is the worst it's ever been in our lifetimes. Republicans spent $215 million this year on TV ads alone attacking the transgender community, aside from ads on social media and billboards. But for a moment, take a step back and think about that. That money is gone and is now in the hands of media companies who will spend it over the next few years fighting Trump with the truth. Secondly, that money was completely wasted. Like I said in the beginning, there are some great things that happened this election which you likely never heard about. So much time and effort by the media has been focused on the hate crimes and racist messages in schools this week that the good stories never made it to your screen. More than 1,000 lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender candidates ran for elected office this year, vying for seats in Congress, state legislators, and various local races across nearly every state. Hundreds of them have been victorious, including many who have made history. 12 LGBTQ congressional candidates won their elections, including Sarah McBride from Delaware, who became the first out transgender person elected to the House, Julie Johnson from Texas, who became the first out LGBTQ person from the South elected to the House, and Emily Randall from Washington, who became the first out queer Latina elected to the House. LGBTQ candidates won their elections to at least 37 state legislators, with other states still counting their votes at the time of this recording. Legislators in 3 states, Hawaii, Iowa, and Missouri, elected their first out trans members. Georgia elected its first out gay black man to their legislature, and Wisconsin elected its first out black LGBTQ member to their state assembly. That's not to mention more than a dozen openly LGBTQ judges were elected to the bench across the country. Overall, at least 1,273 LGBTQ candidates were elected across the country, mostly on the local level. This includes LGBTQ people being elected as mayors, justices of the peace, town and city council members, school board members, town and county clerks, commissioners, auditors, tax collectors, treasurers, and various local boards. One of the biggest upsets for Republicans this year was in Wisconsin, where Democrat Tammy Baldwin was running against Republican Eric Hord for U.S. Senate. Tammy raised over $51 million and spent over $49 million this election, with an extra $2 million in her war chest for legal challenges after the election. Eric raised just $29 million and spent over $25.8 million on political ads. But you should know, out of that $25.8 million spent, over $20 million of it was specifically spent on anti-trans political ads against Tammy. That's nearly 70% of his budget spent on just targeting Tammy for her pro-transgender rights policies. But still, Tammy won by over 29,000 votes. That may not sound like a lot when you consider there were more than 3.3 million votes cast in that race alone, but seeing $20 million get wasted on hate speech and still lose is almost as funny as watching Elon Musk waste $44 billion to buy Twitter just so he can tell advertisers to go f*** yourself. It would only take $23 billion to end world hunger, Elon, but great investment. Most shocking of all, after Kamala Harris's campaign overspent their campaign budget by more than $20 million in the final days of the election, Donald Trump did something none of us expected him to do. After it was announced that he won, Trump sent a directive to the Republican Party, which remember he is now the leader of, to reimburse the $20 million from his own campaign funds to Kamala's campaign. So Trump is literally covering Kamala's debts. I have no doubt that he plans to make even more money stolen from taxpayers once he becomes president again, like he did when he stole $636 million from taxpayers the first time he was in office. But for now, I have to admit that Donald Trump did actually do something good for Democrats, and none of us expected it. At this point, it's hard to tell if that's an olive branch of hope or maybe just a false flag, but only time will tell. My point is, we might have seen a lot of hate this week from the far right, and the children who were groomed and indoctrinated by Republicans, and that's going to take some time to settle down. In the meantime, we have to hold those kids and their parents accountable, if not legally responsible. But underneath all the hate, there is still a lot of good to share at the local level, and a lot to celebrate, which we should be celebrating. I'm not saying we should forget about Donald Trump, because we do have to hold him accountable, and push him to do the right thing. But there is still hope that while an anti-gay racist won and has become the first convicted felon to ever become president, anti-LGBTQ policies and candidates lost big time on a local level and spent hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to lose. And I don't know about you, but after all the bad news this month, that gives me hope. If you'd like to support our show, check out ProfessorPride.com for hundreds of ways to show off your pride. Check them out now along with our LGBTQ books, magnets, pins, umbrellas, digital downloads, and more at ProfessorPride.com. Special thanks to our members and subscribers this month who proudly support our work providing LGBTQ education and resources. Please subscribe to our channel or click on this video to continue enjoying Powered by Rainbows.